I guess I'm streaming. Hey, we're
back to the
streaming, so
knobs.
that was probably a good thing to start with. I'm gonna trim that out. All right, we're guys. Whoever's on that watching us right now, we are live. You can probably see the HorrorBull Podcast logo right now. We're gonna start in about 5 seconds.
We just won't be able to hear what he says. It's fine. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the HorrorBull Podcast. Sometimes when we touch, the honesty is too much. I'm Brian.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Drew.
And thank you, Venomous Maximus, for our theme song, Dream Again, off the album Beg Upon the Light. Am I correct about that?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I am correct about that. Tyler may be agreeing with me. I can't understand. I can't hear anything he's saying. It's just a frozen picture right now. So, also, we're on Twitter at HorrorBull Podcast, HorrorBullPcast. You can find us everywhere else on the internet. We're the HorrorBull Podcast. Our website's thehorribullepodcast.com. And if you're watching us now, we're on Ustream too as the HorrorBull Podcast Live.
I like that. I like the HorrorBull Podcast Live as our mantra. As our
it's
moniker.
all clicks and beeps over here. It's like you're speaking a different language now.
You guys sound.
I don't know what's going on in Nashville, but it is fucking shit.
You guys go ahead with the podcast.
We'll just talk, and maybe Tyler will jump in sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe
you guys go ahead and talk, and I'll jump in if things get better. But you guys go ahead.
Tyler's gonna twist. He's gonna do some titty twisting. He's gonna mess with them knobs. See if he can get things working.
That's a creepy picture. Holy crap.
He may be laughing right now. He may be very uncomfortable. I don't know because we can't tell. So anyway, tonight's or this episode, today's episode, if you're listening to this in the morning,
or
just this episode, is
at dusk.
2014's The Canal. Or as I thought before you started talking about
the Canal.
The Canal, yes. Yeah. I was like, Canal, all right. So yeah,
saw that one.
The Canal, written and directed by
Ian Cavanaugh.
Ian Cavanaugh. Just a basic, real overall feel to this movie. I enjoyed it immensely.
I didn't like it as much as a lot of our other recent stuff. I thought it was the bottom of all the recent great stuff we watched. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I went and saw The Pyramid last weekend, and it was definitely better than The Pyramid. But I mean, when you're talking about the other things we've seen recently, one of which we'll probably talk about a good bit tonight, the Babadook, because it does make an interesting companion piece.
It does
to the Babadook.
During the movie The Pyramid, they at least?
No, I'm just going to say no.
Oh fuck.
They didn't
play Curse of the Pharaohs by
shit. No. But they do end the movie with like a shitty like 90s
new metal
kind of sign. You're like, all right, so you at least know where your audience is with this. But if anyone wants to hear about that, The Pyramid it was kind of weak. I mean, it was sci-fi grade. I don't know how it made it to I don't know how that makes it to as many theaters it does, and then things like the Babadook and things like Starry Eyes and things like. Gosh, what are some other great things we've watched recently? Even The Canal and other stuff.
Or Housebound.
Housebound. Don't make it any bigger than that. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, no, even more than that. It was the directorial debut of Gregory Levasseur, who is the partner, the producing and writing partner of Alexandra Aja. And Horns doesn't get a big release, but the shit The Pyramid does. And while Horns has its problems, Horns is infinitely superior to The Pyramid. It's infinitely more interesting too.
I think you just kind of isolated the problem is they didn't play Merciful Fate's Curse of the Pharaohs during the movie. If someone's like, "Hey Brian, the movie The Pyramid's out," how's it? It's okay. They do play Merciful Fate's Curse of the King Diamond's Curse of the Pharaoh. I can't remember if it's King Diamond or Merciful Fate. Curse of the Pharaoh. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see that just so I can hear that come through in Dolby 7.1.
Yeah. I don't think that solves the problem of why that.
Don't cuss, never ever steal, unless you're in for the kill.
That's a good one. Yeah, I just don't know why. I mean, I get it's a business, and I get how the release structure works and all, but it just blows my mind to see something like The Pyramid get these wide releases and this other stuff.
I just had
not.
the Tobias Funke, this business of show. So yeah, the Canal.
Canal.
The Canal. Irish?
Yes.
Are they Irish?
Yeah, it's an Irish movie. It's produced by the Irish Film Association. Can you guys hear me at all?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll say stuff. Yeah, it's definitely an Irish movie from start to finish. It definitely has a feeling of being Irish. I didn't.
I think it was specifically the potatoes.
Yeah, it was all like. Well, I mean, I watched it in potato vision, so it had potatoes around the frame of the film. But
potatoes powered your TV. You had a potato TV. It was a science experiment.
I don't think it was a bad movie. I just think it was like a really like uneven movie, especially towards the end. Like it really loses the thread of what made it the first half of it pretty good. But it's really uneven. I thought the first half was really effective, and the second half kind of just lost what in the hell it was about. And then at the end, it became like not The Omen, but something sinister. I don't know. Like it felt like a drama that had a horror thing in it rather than a horror movie. Kind of. I don't know. Like there's something about those uneven, but I liked it. It looked good. It was well acted. It just the script kind of fell apart halfway through, I thought.
We'll talk about this toward the end.
Just change the pronunciation.
Speaking of Canal, man, that wife is getting it in that one scene, isn't she?
I gotta say that, yeah, I think that like if they were going to accurately portray this movie with a title, it would be this haunted house that had a bunch of silent films made about it in 1902. Because it's really about a house, not about a canal. Like the canal really is just the vessel. It's really just the vessel for the violence. But it's like I don't think that it's as successful as like telling us. It's kind of a boring title too. It's the Canal. Like the movies are kind of hard to do in 2014. We've had 100 years of cinema. Like think of something different, or I don't know. Like it's fine. I think that it ended up doing the thing that it needed to do, but it's just not totally. It's just like everything else. It feels like almost really awesome. Like on the cusp of being really awesome all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, it should. I mean, I think something better would be a more a sinister title or an insidious, one of those more
Canal.
just descriptive of a situational kind of deal there. Because it was one thing it was very much like, along with the Babadook, was Sinister.
Mm-hmm.
With the movie watching, or even it made me think of Cigarette Burns, the John Carpenter Masters of Horror deal as well, with just this, it almost felt like this haunted movie that this guy was watching that was going to come back and bite him in the end. Which
even at the end, it kind of had a Ring feel to it with the way
certainly,
yeah.
Well, there's one scene that is just the Ring.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, where's the Ring now?"
What's weird is that like it has these elements, but it doesn't balance them well, and it almost feels like it abandons the aspect of cinema halfway through. Like it becomes then just about him like being on the run. It's almost like a Michael Douglas movie from the 90s, but 2014. And I guess I'm feeding off your energy of like, it's okay. I remember liking the first half of it quite a bit as I was watching it, but like halfway through something turned where I thought that they didn't focus enough on the silent film aspect of it, or they didn't balance it well enough, because I had almost forgotten that he was like a film historian kind of person in the first half of the movie. So like I was kind of lost with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean.
Something very right with the situation.
Makes you wonder though, since you think this time that the kid, you felt sorry for the kid, makes you wonder if Lona would have hated this kid. You felt sorry for the Babadook kid.
So
Because the kid was normal.
this kid was a lot more normal, but also has the most adorable accent. I thought that both kids in the Babadook and here had adorable accents for the most part.
Absolutely.
So
Any accent besides American is good.
Also, fairly, I mean, one thing that I was a little afraid of going into it, being that it was an Irish film, is a lot of times the accents can be very difficult. And I was very surprised at how not difficult this movie was to figure out what everyone was saying, because that is always one of the more difficulties I find in watching like real Irish cinema at times, is those accents can be really tough.
Well, to back up just a hair to talk a little bit maybe about the movie itself, it begins with a pretty solid crime fiction premise, which is that a guy who what kind of guy would you necessarily say? I mean, he's like a film historian, or what did they say he is?
Right?
And a film archivist. So like he has that aspect going for he's not limp-wristed, but that's the thing that like sort of reminded me of, is that he's just some guy, and his wife is obviously straying because she's not happy with like whoever, like the person he has become or their relationship. Like the backstory isn't really set up that much. It's just that she is cheating and it's with a client. And so I think that's a really great premise. And she leaves one night to go out and presumably meet with this client, and he follows her. And I think this, like, they almost could have stretched this out even a little bit more to pique the interest a little bit more. But you find that the wife is cheating on the husband, on David, the husband, with a random client, like a really not skeezy, but like a guy who himself looked like he would be a film archivist, like long
I
hair.
thought he was just an Italian director. Oh, he must be an Italian director.
And
the artist boyfriend.
And so he
also left that kid at home alone too.
Yeah.
I was like, what a shitty dad.
And he came back home, and there were Hot Wheels everywhere and a gold tooth under the piano, and he made it just in time for Christmas morning.
He touched the handle of the doorknob. He's like, it's hot.
And then he stood under a fire extinguisher, like fire blowing on his head for 10 seconds. Anyway, the list goes on. A nail in his foot. List goes on and on. But he,
speaking of annoying kids, after watching Home Alone a couple years ago with my kid, I thought, Jesus Christ, if you were Kevin McAllister, I'd fucking kill you.
That's true.
God damn, I would have been like, I don't care if this kid dies. I don't care.
Let's leave it. Let's have a vacation in France and just
Right.
leave that motherfucker at home.
They're like, we don't even have to go to France. Let's just have a vacation from Kevin.
But
They just took the van down the road, the airport
right. They're like,
shuttle
Shh, everybody just be quiet. Kevin's not around.
to the airport Holiday Inn and just
stay there for a week. And then David makes the classic movie mistake of picking up the hammer and then not killing his wife and wife's lover, and then instead of wiping the prints down, throwing it in a body of water where naturally it's going to be found and tied to him. Almost like I thought fingerprints were like less heavy than that. It seems like throwing in a body of water. It seems like it would wash the fingerprints
isn't
off.
that the whole point of when you're washing the fingerprints off is with water? I mean, isn't water nature's fingerprint remover?
It just seems like if like wiping it down with a cloth or the bottom of your shirt would take it off, that throwing it in a moving body of water would too dislodge whatever like fingerprints were on it. But anyway, he goes home.
That was pretty gross too. That canal was pretty gross.
Yeah, the
as
canal
well. It wasn't
the Irish Canal is our equivalent of a drainage pond at a new subdivision.
It is a canal.
Yeah, it's a canal. It just when his wife, do you think that the first act could have been longer? Like that we could have gotten more of a sense of like the husband and wife, David and his wife, not being totally happy with one another before this happens, or
I think so because I didn't get the idea at all. Like I mean there was kind of a hint at the party. Right. Of her looking back over her shoulder, but at the same time, I was like, "Oh, he's probably just being paranoid."
Right, but it wasn't even a hint there. I mean, you get from the very beginning the way he's laying in bed awake, and when her phone buzzes, and he's the concern he shows about it, you can tell there's something wrong. I thought all that stuff. I thought Kavanaugh did a great job of conveying the distrust or the level of I don't know if animosity is the right word, but just the level of breakdown, I guess, in their marriage. And I like the way they did that. And I would also then argue, I would agree with you and say, yeah, we could have gone longer with the first act because the second act didn't add that much. Like with the besuited, creepy besuited guy kind of showing up and around the guy at times when things would happen. I mean, I don't know if that much happened in the second act that was more important than maybe giving us more of the interesting first act, perhaps.
It is almost kind of like, I mean, at that point, it becomes kind of The Shining, too, with him.
Oh, very much so.
Taking it's kind of like Shining meets Justified. If the
Justified?
I'm ribbing at Tyler.
He's being passive aggressive.
I saw a quote that said that was they described his book that way. But no, The Shining was that very idea of like that he's being haunted by or almost possessed by the spirit of the house.
Yeah, certainly. So this, I mean, like a lot of horror nowadays, I mean, it's cobbled together from a lot of different superior sources.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big horror trope at the moment.
Possessed house possessing you.
Well, no, just borrowing from everything that's better than you. I mean,
are you saying The Shining is better than this?
Yes, I am.
Stephen King probably would not agree.
Listen,
if Stephen King had his druthers.
Something new is automatically better than something old. It works with cars. It works with iPads and iPhones.
That's why we all know the prequels are better, right?
This is not the Star Wars podcast. This is the HorrorBull Podcast.
Well, Drew, where were you going to go with that? As far as like that being a trope of like just borrowing blatantly. I mean, we are in sort of a mashup. I hate to kind of use it with mashup culture, and it seems like this movie's not that, but it definitely does sort of borrow from other movies, and like it kind of bakes it together, but it's not entirely like finished. I think maybe another. I don't know. I feel like the second act was okay, but I felt it could have built more of the mythology into it. Like if you're going to build into this movie, like add some myth into it. I don't know. I
mean, I would sit there and say like one difference I would say in good borrowing versus I don't want to say bad borrowing, but more
bartering,
just borrowing would be like Starry Eyes. Starry Eyes didn't take any. It wasn't narratively similar to any of the movies that it alluded to tonally and visually and stylistically. I mean, it had this feel of this 70s occult movie, but by no means was any of that plot lifted from Rosemary's Baby or, The Omen or Devil Dog Hound from Hell, any of the classics. But this, I mean, that's the thing. Watching this all the time, there were so many scenes. It was like, oh, this is like The Shining. Oh, this is like The Ring. Oh, this is like, whatever else it's like. And, it just is a much more, I don't know, a much more explicit lifting of narrative and even of style at times. Some of that, but
Like
but
what are some things you can think of? Like I get you. I mean, I definitely see the ring at the end. I thought that was sort of they're doing. That's when the monster finally appeared, which is not really it at all. I was more afraid of him going to prison. Like when that showed up, I was like, oh, this is just the ring. Like this is just the little girl from the ring. Like what is new about this? Although they did sort of ameliorate it with something way that I have not seen in a horror movie, which is like a undead birth, ghost birth, which was totally not expected. But
that was intense.
I think this movie could have been more like Polanski-esque. I mean, I know we've just complained about it stealing from other stuff, but I think like if it had taken more from Polanski and made it more psychological and sort of like and more about the themes of the birth canal or whatever, make it more sort of like maternal or even switch the genders here, then it could have been a much more interesting movie thematically than it actually is. I mean, it's not. Here's the thing, like I'm kind of dissecting it from just an intellectual perspective here. I actually did still like the movie a lot. Until, I mean, I didn't even dislike the end. Like, I think I'm overplaying it. I think I'm for the sake of like criticizing and reviewing it, but I liked the movie for the most part. I just think in thinking about it and talking about it, I don't think that it ties together as well. And I don't understand why the naked people in the video, except it's a horror movie. Like if this were any other movie, we wouldn't just have that from, like Rosemary's Baby. It's just there because it's supposed to be scary, not because it has anything to do with like this movie. Like the supernatural aspect of this movie doesn't seem to have anything to do with the movie itself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that because that's the problem I came up to when thinking about it today. I was thinking about it too. I was like, I mean, was he actually making the footprints in the sand in the flour? So all of this was in his head, but what was going on really had no bearing on what he was doing.
Right. Or yeah,
his like the murders that happened in 1902 with this crazy man, and they tried to add the witchcraft and the sacrificing children, but it never really paid off for what was ultimately resolved.
Well, and ultimately this movie does something that is very proud. Like this movie is only guilty of the same thing that every movie that is like it is guilty of, which is anytime you have a protagonist where the twist at the end is that it was him the entire time, he was just hallucinating the other stuff, is it creates all this like backlog of narrative problems. Like the Fight Club excuse is the most logical, which is like sometimes, but it also is the most problematic, which is sometimes it was you in place of me, Tyler Durden. Other times it was just you imagining things and projecting things. Like that can make sense, but also that is not satisfying when the movie's over. Like as the credits roll, you're like, what about the footsteps? That was supposed to be scary and real. That's kind of like pulling the blanket out from the rug out from under me narratively, because what am I supposed to like hold on to when this movie's over? Because if I wasn't supposed to believe any of this shit, like why do I care about this movie?
Also, let me also say that if I was ever to the point where I thought a ghost was haunting me, I don't know if I could think as clearly as this guy by putting flour on the floor, drawing a circle around my water glass. I'm like,
right.
I'd probably just leave.
Yeah,
the kid left, and he kept seeing the visions in the kid's room. So
that was actually one of my favorite moments of the movie too. And I'd forgotten about it, but when the dad's just like, not even when the ghost appears, but when he's telling the son to like move the computer around so he can see the room.
Yeah,
I thought that was really effective. I thought
it was really creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was done very well. That whole idea of like all right, well, can you not see what's going on? And he runs, obviously Ireland, because in the United States it would probably still take like 45 minutes to an hour to get wherever he was going.
It would have been improbable, like traffic. He would have been like beating his fists in traffic. So I mean, with ghost stories, I either want the protagonist to actually be haunted. I think maybe just the psychotic person who has forgotten that he has done this is kind of needs to go away as like a narrative device. Which this is a slight twist. It's not. Here it is different too. It's not that he is totally to blame. It's that he's being influenced by this other force. It's not that it's not being haunted that he's just an asshole murderer. It's that he is being influenced by this supernatural force. So that's there.
Do you think he just broke when the he walked in and saw the his wife just getting fucking railed?
Yeah.
But do you think he just broke then? Because then the next scene is when he was in the bathroom and which was
That's a good scene.
that
too.
is a good
Yeah.
scene. That creepy ass the feet appear and the hands over the top of the bathroom stall. I was like, oh shit, what's
And
happening?
that thing was disgusting. And just imagine that floor and what
It was the-
and,
How it
kept thinking,
smelled.
Oh my
Brian,
They,
you always talk about
they-
smells. So
They
this
brought in the
is right
bathroom
with you.
Train spotting.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, Brian, you talk about smells always, and this seems like this would be a very 70s smelling.
Oh god, that raw trucker, like I've been eating burritos all the way
Raw
across
trucker
Just
sewage.
like sprayed everywhere and not anyone clean in years, just the needles everywhere, stepping on used needles.
Oh, just that just too much piss around the edge because I haven't been cleaned in a while.
That smell. Yeah, it's just. I thought that scene was really effective, and so as far as mood goes, this movie does a really great job of setting up like the mood. Some of the plot events are less sort of engaging. I don't know, like the scene where he finally breaks is after he murders the blonde girl at the end. So I guess that was just the final straw. Like why did he have no self? I guess not self-preservation, but what is it? Self-reflexive. I can't think of the word, but like why?
Like, why didn't he realize what he was doing?
Yeah, why didn't he realize what he was doing before? How was the ghost to blame for that? Did the ghost just say like, I guess now you can figure it out, so you can kill yourself? I don't know. Like,
Satan.
like, ha, joke's on you. Like, why not influence him to kill other people? Like, the more bodies, the merrier. Just keep using him to kill other people because there were more bodies to collect.
Also,
Because that's Canal 2, duh.
Right.
I mean, the cop assigned to the case pretty much just tells us at the beginning who the murderer is. He's like,
it's always the husband.
always the husband.
I really liked him too. Like tonally, he's way out on, but he also reacts, even though he doesn't fit in the movie's tone. He fits in sort of like how cops should react to this sort of shit. Like when David is trying to
laughing at him
like
point.
when David tries to convince him that like, oh no, it's a ghost and I saw it, and he just bursts into laughter. Like that's kind of how people should react to this kind of stuff because it's insane. Like it's insane to believe this stuff. Which in a movie it exists, but here in real reality it doesn't. So I don't know. Like I think that this movie has a lot to offer. So I keep wanting, like, I want to backpedal a little bit on criticizing it because I think that even though it has some narrative problems, it is like it's a microcosm for some of the other things that I don't like about movies, not about this movie specifically, just like ghost stories in general. The way that it does whatever it wants in the moment so that it can either scare you or make sense for itself right now. So
you broke up a lot during that, so I have no idea what the hell you
sorry.
just said.
It was awesome. It was like every other word went away. So it was like I think it was a.
And then
and
when
we
we
had
did
It was all of the
very
words
fun to try and figure it out. It was like
Also-
a puzzle.
did any of you guys get the sense that this the main character like Carl Pilkington? That's what I kept thinking the whole time. I was like,
I didn't think
this
about
is
it.
Carl Pilkington.
Is he in
better
other stuff?
Carl Pilkington.
Is the main character in this movie, is he in other movies? Like he looked familiar, but I can't quite picture him.
Carl Pilkington.
Yeah, Rupert Evans. He's been in some other stuff, but nothing big, major.
He's the Irish Rupert Everett.
Oh, he was in Hellboy.
Yes. that
Oh,
was it.
that's
That
right.
was the
That's
big one.
it.
I knew
He
there
was in
one big one.
Hellboy. That's what I
Yeah.
remember him from. Ha.
Yeah. I was trying to remember what the big one was.
The main character in Hellboy.
The
So a
useless
big
main
movie.
character.
Yes.
The worst character in Hellboy. I don't need this guy to be my eyes into this world character. Man,
Yeah.
that was
I
not
complete-
one.
that's
was
what
not
it
one
is.
of the pluses in.
You're
Hellboy.
right. I kept looking at him the whole time going, it's Carl Pilkington, but it's something else as well. That makes sense. Hellboy.
Good movie, yeah. So as far as like the plot events going through, I almost wish that they'd focus more on the film aspect of it. I've sort of mentioned that before.
You know,
but,
like the archive stuff that he's finding out about the house. And,
yeah. Did you guys get a sense of like that they built that world, that we understood why the house, or is that something that we don't need more of? Like, oh, we get it, the house is haunted.
Well, they could have gone. They could. It's like they.
Then it does just become sinister. Though.
Yeah, I almost
That-
wish that they would have. I almost.
The murder scene where the first time he sees the guy kill his wife, that's one of the most brutal murders I've ever seen in a movie. Just with the guy,
with the stabbing and the neck and the.
Oh yeah, it was pretty rough. Yeah, they do a great job with the brutality in the movie. Because and even at the very beginning, when the movie first starts, there's like all those quick clips of video, and it reminded me a lot of Event Horizon. I was like, oh, this is muttered to myself, this is some Event Horizon level shit.
Man, that is a loud movie. That's one thing I always remember about Event Horizon.
Yeah, a loud, bombastic.
Yeah. The pyramid actually rivals it in its final scene. I was like, wow, something that's almost as, awfully loud as I did like Event Horizon, mind you, but it was really awfully
It's one of my favorite
really
movies.
Awfully loud.
I showed it to Jackson the other day.
No, you did not.
Hellraiser in space. Except Hellraiser actually went to space, but
we were in space before we were in space.
I think it was actually Event Horizon beats Hellraiser in space.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Isn't it Hellraiser 5? That's
I think so.
the one where they go back. They're in space and they're going back. It's in space and also in like the French Renaissance.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, two very different kind of.
Did you want the
time
French
periods.
Renaissance there, or did you want the French Revolution? What did you
Maybe French Revolution.
I just wanted
Or the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Let's just say the Renaissance.
That was Either way, so I don't know. There are a lot of things that work in this movie, and that's the thing. It's not like some of the bad things we've watched where there's nothing good to speak of. I mean, the horror is truly horrific at times, and and the violence is brutal, and it's a very mean spirited movie at times in a positive way, or at least in a watchable way. I mean, that last scene for one, but I don't know. I just think my biggest problem with this, we've seen so many things similar to it that are better right now. Like there's parent single parent dealing with a child and going crazy. Well, the Babadook did that better. And am I being haunted or not? Well, Housebound kind of did that better. I mean, it's just weird. I guess maybe just on the heels of what we've watched recently, it was unfair to to throw it in here, because I think this definitely would have beaten several of the things at times if we'd watched it on the following some of the other stuff we've seen. But following the things that we've watched recently, it's like I just saw this and that better.
I mean, kind of right now we just have an embarrassment of riches. I mean, in the dry spell, like when we did Oculus, we might have done this movie instead. And I think we've just found our groove as far as finding movies that interest and like astound us. And this movie, when placed against 90% of horror movies, like if you jumped on Netflix and just streamed through all of the garbage that's on the horror side of Netflix, like things that are just thrown on there, or passion projects that aren't too good, this movie beats 90% of that stuff because it's still a really well crafted movie. It's just we have been spoiled.
On my IMDb page, when I was looking up the details about this movie, I was given Starry Eyes, The Babadook, and A Housebound as recommendations in addition to this movie. So it was a good. I was like, well, we're following the trend of what we should be watching right now. So
no, I mean, like I will say though, I think one of its biggest weaknesses though is it's far too obvious in the things that do influence it narratively. It's far too obvious in its usage of those sources, I guess. Like that ring scene for one that we always go back to, but the Shining aspect of it. I mean, that guy is very much a character from The Overlook in the way he is dressed and the way he even looks at times, the ghostly figure and things like that, and daddy going crazy kind of deal with sweet little kid.
And also in this movie, I didn't write down specific instances where I was like, oh, this is great, but there are it's a very beautiful. Mm-hmm. And almost like to the point of like heartbreaking to know that this is what's happening to this guy and his family.
He doesn't seem like a bad guy. That's
right. And then like I do remember like the one scene where he is taken to the sewer to run to the canal, where I thought, as I think with most zombie movies, is like, Jesus Christ, my kid would not be quiet as I try to run with him through a fucking sewer away from police officers.
I think the movie benefits from getting sort of like 10 minutes lopped off in the middle and extending the end sequence a little bit more. It seems kind of abrupt. Like he kills her, the cops show up, he grabs a kid, jumps in the canal, he dies. Movie over except for the weird coda. What do you think? What do you make of that end sequence with the son?
That was unexpected as well too. Like I did not. Did you ever see the movie Dark Water?
Mm-hmm.
There's
I
that.
don't think so.
I thought maybe that it was going to have that because there's almost a kind of a sweetness to the end of that where she, the daughter goes into the elevator and Jennifer Connelly's character, like shuts the elevator down and just whispers in her daughter's ear like, "I'm always here for you," not convincing the daughter to, of course, kill herself. But at the same time, I thought it was gonna be that sweetness too. Like we're like I thought when I saw the eye show up in the crack, I was like, "Oh, the dad's gonna say, hey, we're here for you if you
We'll
need
always
us."
be
Kind
here.
of, it was gonna be sweet like that. It did not turn out that way, of course. But he was like, that was rough. And it kind of appeals to like every parent's nightmare of a kid opening a car door and jumping out of the goddamn car.
It brings up the question that sort of came up with when Pet Sematary came out, which is like how much suffering is too much for a story of this type. And I don't think that the end sequence went too far. Like I'm not adverse to children being killed in movies, but I just felt like it was an unnecessary final step.
It's your pretty. If everything else this movie did do was fairly typical, a lot of things at least. So it's a pretty typical end. You got to find some sort of shocking, way to end it.
Can we get?
The Carrie ending to to some degree.
And we'll go ahead and talk about it. Like it's two shocking endings because we get the.
Right.
You alluded to it earlier, the ghost birth scene. And at first I thought, like when it first started up, I was like, oh, look, it's just nasty. She's, her vagina's bleeding. They're like, no, she is giving birth.
Right.
To presumably not his child, too.
I assumed it was
just as
it was her lover's child.
Like, what is it with ghosts and wanting to just like heap suffering on you? Like, it's enough that they're going to have him kill everyone in his family and anyone around him, but also they have to taunt him as well, like a bunch of assholes. Like, ghosts are assholes.
Mostly, I think that's the movie someone needs to make. Ghosts are assholes.
Ghosts are assholes. Stop leaving my fucking cabinet doors open. Just kill me or something, but stop. That's my that's my good China, assholes.
The Sony leak that happened last week, that was one of the scripts that got leaked, was Ghosts are assholes. That's Ghostbusters 3.
Ghostbusters 3, Ghosts are assholes. It's him doing this.
And I'm trying to remember what the original question now was.
Do
you think this movie heaps too much suffering on like just for the necessity? I mean, as you said, we had the shocking ending, but I don't know. Or are ghosts assholes? I don't know what I asked.
I'm always fine with suffering in a movie like this. It's kind of the point of it. It's it's the argument that sometimes can be made about Stephen King novels. It's like, dude, your characters have been through enough at this point. You don't have to chop off fingers and then make them bald and then
don't kill their daughters too. You're already on the verge of killing them. Don't also have someone drown their daughters in a bathtub.
But then you have what kind of is the weakness I think of Dr. Sleep is like nothing happens to anybody.
I want them to suffer and they don't.
It's like could you at least make there be something dangerous that happens?
Not only did he lose his girlfriend, but now he's going to have a heart attack while there's a risk of someone blowing up a concert.
Got it. I like it. I like it. I got that one. Did you get mine, Brian?
No.
Okay, good.
Is it a Dr. Sleep reference?
Was he? He was already. Was he having one thing?
Tell us the end.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe I don't pay enough.
Stop reading Boogie House now.
I don't.
Twist. I never started.
I know. I kind of
I'm
figured.
joking.
Thanks. I appreciate that, bud. Support.
I am reading it. Screw off.
One of the things I wanted to ask that I don't know if I didn't pay enough attention, but it would change how I viewed this character. I viewed him as largely sympathetic, like someone going through like a really shitty time. But was he also having an affair with the blonde
girl? There was that one scene where she's sitting on the desk and she's really close to him. I kind of got that feeling,
but it never shows it.
But it doesn't show it, and I couldn't tell if maybe she was just
Right.
I think maybe
Infatuated.
she was just wanted it, and then but he was not open to it, and he was not reading the signs. But then when she comes to his house, of course, and she's like, "I'll believe anything you say."
Right. That's the point where I was like, did I miss something? Because she starts kissing him, but he doesn't kiss back. Like, he never. What I think is interesting is that he never lets on to the audience, I guess, that he's also having an affair. I think it's it's kind of an interesting thing that I wish more movies were subtle like that. And so that brings me back around to like, oh no, I do like this movie. It's the acting that I like. It's sort of like the nuances in the relationships. Maybe this didn't need to be a ghost story at all. It could have just been a drama about someone who's tortured about killing his wife. Like, I don't know.
But then Richard Gere would have wanted the part.
Yeah, I know. But if Richard Gere had taken the part, he would have definitely had sex with the blonde. Like, that would have definitely been part of his contract.
Because you always just described that Richard Gere dying.
Faithful?
Faithful. Is that what it is?
Unfaithful?
Unfaithful.
The one where she has like the Spanish boyfriend and he kills him.
That's
wraps
the
him.
one.
Okay, yeah.
That's it. Or Summersby.
I think it's Unfaithful.
Summersby.
Summersby's kind of like that. Is he or is he not her husband? We don't know.
The Return of Martin Gere. That was the original film.
Was it?
French?
Gerard Depardieu.
Whoa.
I did not realize that.
I didn't either. God, I can only see him in in the Man in the Iron Mask. Was that him or was that Three Musketeers? Was it Man in the Iron Mask where he was in it?
I think of my father, the hero.
God.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And what's her name? In the thong.
Yeah.
Katherine Heigl at a very young age in a thong.
God, that was Heigl, yeah. That's who I was about to say, but I was like, no, it's not Katherine Heigl. It's someone else.
It is Katherine Heigl, yeah. Ugh.
It was, yeah. Wow.
God, what a precipitous downfall she has had from the very heights of stardom.
The heights of working with Gerard Depardieu.
I know. Can't get any higher. But no, I mean, it's that sort of like nuance that I thought really worked for the movie. It kind of brings me back around to like, no, I like this movie, but I still think if you're going to watch this kind of movie, do watch Sinister. Sinister's my favorite of these kinds of movies, as far as like the dude who is investigating a thing and doesn't quite know what reality is.
Is Sinister getting a sequel?
Yeah,
it is, isn't it? Yeah. Because
I hope not. Ugh.
Sinister.
Yeah, it's the guy. The Citadel director.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
I like that. That's okay.
But the Sinister, because I always get Sinister and Insidious confused.
Yeah, it's
I think
easy to do that.
We talked about that, but
wait, Sinister and Citadel.
Sinister and Insidious.
Insidious. Sorry, I thought you said Sinister and Citadel.
But I like Sinister way better than.
I don't like Insidious at all.
Yeah,
I didn't either, and I don't. Isn't that what Annabelle's kind of a spinoff of Insidious?
No, that's
Conjuring.
God damn it!
Conjuring. Is Insidious James Wan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I call myself a horror fan.
I do like Insidious. I like the Darth Maul.
Right. I don't. That's where I
turned.
Sinister?
No, that's Insidious.
That's Insidious. I turned that movie off at that point. I was like, ugh, I'm over this. I love the first two acts so much, and then the third act, it was just like, what the hell is this movie about?
Yeah, Patrick.
What the hell is a Jawa?
Just him running around his subconscious weird world or something.
Fuck that.
Felt like a really poorly thought out late Nightmare on Elm Street.
Or what's the Stephen King movie with that? Where they're Dreamcatcher.
Which
the whole end where he's inside his brain.
Okay, which I have to say, Dreamcatcher is one of my favorite Stephen King novels. Most people hate it, and Stephen King himself recently disavowed it in an interview with Rolling Stone, where he was like, but he said he didn't like it because it was just way too mean a novel because it happened post accident. But it's one of my favorites. I've probably read it and reread that book the most.
That movie's bad.
The movie is bad.
Terrible.
Yeah, I did enjoy
I didn't hate the book.
I enjoyed the book.
I love the first half of it. Like
SSDD.
I know. I love the first.
Different day.
I think that the idea of kids in a book like reliving their I thought that was overused, but the present era of that book I thought was really successful.
It felt very it-ish with the
rehashing it, but I never had like a particular love for it either because it was okay.
The movie It.
Yeah.
No, but the book It is probably my favorite Stephen King book, and I think it's probably because it got me at the right time. I think I was probably 14 when I read it, or 15, so I was not too far removed from the age of the kids in that book, so it felt it grabbed me at the right age. But them remaking it is not going to be it's not too terribly bad. I mean, I don't know if anybody will top
No one will. No, that's
Tim
like-
Curry as Pennywise because he is
Oh, no,
absolutely
I thought you-
horrific.
I thought you meant Richard Thomas. No one's going to top Richard Thomas.
No one's gonna top Richard Thomas or who else was in that movie?
Richard Macer and
Richard Macer,
and
that's
Ed
it.
O'Toole and Tim
Yes.
Reed and the guy who played Eddie. I don't remember what his name is.
But no, Tim Curry is amazing.
No, his
I would
Pennywise is
love
great.
him to come back as Pennywise. That would be amazing.
It was the last of all the big kings that I read, and I still honestly think more fondly of the miniseries than I do the book. It was hard for me to get through. It was too big at that point.
You know what I think it was
just
is they
too big.
left out the part in the miniseries where they all banged the girl as kids.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't they add that into the made for TV movie?
Who can't imagine
Like,
why they did.
God, you know what will make us closer? It was like every cheesy pickup line ever. Like, you know what'll make us closer? We bang.
That's a really unfortunate part of that book in retrospect, don't you think?
I do. I think it's probably the weakest part. It's like, you could have thought of a better thing to do than fucking each other.
Also, that's really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Like, that's really creepy. Especially Stephen King was, 40 at that point, writing about a
What are you talking about,
childhood
a guy,
orgy.
A 40-year-old writing about running a train on a 13, 14-year-old girl?
It's
Come on.
it's not only is it misogynist, it's just creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eh.
Whatever gets you through the night, Steven.
What do you think? Do you suggest this movie, or would you say go back and watch Insidious first if you haven't? Damn it! I did it. Sinister first before this.
Watch Sinister and watch The
then
Babadook and watch Housebound and The Shining and The Ring. And once you've seen all of those and you like those, it's like, yeah, then check out The Canal.
I don't think I liked Housebound as much as you guys did. I liked it, but I don't know. I think I like the first act of this movie better.
Yeah.
Do what?
No, I think the acting carries this movie. I think the
that's
acting
good,
carries
yeah.
this film through, and I think that there are definitely some scenes that are very horror worthy in this film too. So it would definitely get. I would say, yeah, watch this film. I would say you watch this film.
Yeah, I
Watch
like
this
it. I mean, I think I still recommend it. I mean, like I said before, it's still I think better than most horror movies. Like,
And you know what too is like we're not here to we're just talking about what we think. Don't listen to us. Make up your mind. Listen to us.
Don't come and spend your time with us to listen to what we have to say about this
like,
thing.
should I watch this movie that's an hour and 30 minutes long, or should I listen to an hour-long podcast about it? These guys spoiled it for me.
So listen to us.
So listen to us. Yeah, just don't watch movies.
Too.
Sure. Hey,
PewDiePie.
That's the movie. You'll watch that.
Horrible Podcast.
Horrible Podcast.
So, hey, we have a. If you've listened this far, which
Thank you, thank you.
but I doubt anybody else has. We have we got a little contest we're gonna play right now. Got a shirt and a pack of stickers or a sheet of stickers from the TV show Hannibal.
Which is really great. If you haven't been watching it, you should.
Yeah,
Brian.
I have not watched it,
That's
but I would
Brian.
love to watch it. But anyway, so I'm gonna do some trivia. It's a really easy one if you're a horror fan or you know anything about Silence of the Lambs or the whole Hannibal backstory. The trivia is, and here's how we're gonna do this game: is if you email wolfmansgotnards at thehorriblepodcast.com.
Say that again for the audience.
Wolfmansgotnards at thehorriblepodcast.com.
We did not think our email address through. I love it, but that's a long ass email address.
You fuck yourself. You fuck yourself right in your back pussy.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Email WGN at wolfmansgotnards at thehorriblepodcast.com. The bit of trivia is the first person to email us the answer will, of course, get this, and we'll ship it free. We will charge you for shipping. So you will have to give us a PayPal. I'm just kidding. Everything, it's all free. It's a contest. You'll get a shirt and a 8.5 by 11 sheet of stickers for the movie or the TV show Hannibal. I'm fucking all this up.
It's fine.
Question
You get stuff.
is, give us who was the first person to play Hannibal Lecter, and what was the director of that film?
And what was the title of that film while we're at it? Yeah, just give us all that
Let's
information.
get that far.
I want to keep adding stuff now. Let's just keep adding.
Also,
Also, who
yeah.
was the best boy on that film? That actually might be the hardest trivia. Who's the best boy on it for extra credit? We'll send you some of Brian's chin hairs if you get that right.
We'll send what?
We'll send some of Brian's chin hairs, some hairs from his chinny chin.
So yeah, give us who the first Hannibal Lecter was and who directed that film, and you will be the proud recipient of a Hannibal shirt and a set of Hannibal stickers to do with as you please. Send it to wolfmansgotnards@thehorriblepodcast.com. And we, if I recognize your name and you're a friend of ours, you're not gonna get the gift. You're not getting the prize.
Spit everywhere. Yeah.
And by the way, the shirt is large. Okay, so it's not an extra large.
That's why I didn't just take it.
Right. Not a medium, not a small. It's a large shirt. So if you're small, like if you're a twink like Drew, then you're gonna wear it to sleep in. If you're a muscle bound. You're a muscle bound idiot like Tyler who needs XLs and double XLs.
I wear mediums
to accommodate his muscles.
I wear a medium.
Yeah, a medium in the big and tall section.
Muscle medium.
I get it.
What he looks for in his shirts when he's at the store is like slightly fitted through. That's what I need.
Oh, I love you, Brian.
All right, yeah. So if the contest. If we get any responses, I'll be super happy.
Someone please bring Brian off the ledge and send us a response.
Right. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I can make excuses to what I'm doing every Wednesday night.
Brian needs a reason.
Reason to believe, guys. Someone like you makes it hard to live without.
What episode is Shannon on at this point?
He said he was just listening to... I can't remember.
Doesn't matter. We're live streaming still, so hey, everybody.
Yeah,
we're having fun.
Next, we have to pick let's pick a shitty movie next to talk about so we can make jokes about it.
Okay.
I can't think of one on the air. I mean, I think there would probably be shitty sections in ABCs of Death. Like we would definitely have something to make fun of. No? No.
I can't. I didn't hear a word you said.
Oh! I thought you were saying like, no, we're not doing that movie. ABCs of Death. There would probably be shitty sections of that movie.
Worst yet.
Yeah, you might as well just be underground right now talking to me.
You're in the canal.
Yeah, you.
The
are
thing is,
in
people
the
on the
canal.
live stream probably have no idea what you're talking about.
Hey, we still not that I'm not saying these are the movies to make fun of, but we still have VHS Viral and ABCs of Death too.
I just said ABCs of Death too.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because it kept cutting out.
That's what I was saying. Is there's
what's some old?
There's bound to be shitty.
We should get a good old. Yeah, we should get a good old ridiculous movie.
What about Chopping Mall or some like Silent Night, Deadly Night for Christmas?
Videodrome.
That's a good movie.
We'll play around with
Yeah,
this.
we got time. We have a whole 7 days to come up with
Toy
this.
with this.
All right, well, let's do
Tyler's
this.
frozen in time. We got palsy victim over there. or stroke,
I was
whatever.
going to palsy would be shaking or something. All of that just became really offensive.
I'm not. I mean, that's what they do. I'm not making. I didn't say, hey, stroke victims. I know that sometimes you get frozen, and that's not offensive.
So let it go.
Oh
Yeah, there you go.
All right,
I can do that too.
let's call it a podcast, guys.
We need a new monster dog. That's what we need.
If you don't point out that it's offensive, nobody knows it's offensive.
That's a good point.
Right? You're drawing attention to it.
Right.
I can't
All right.
tell if Tyler's playing us out with venomous
I am.
maxims.
I
or
am.
if-
I'm playing us out.
Okay, or if it was just him hitting a snare drum.
All right.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Maybe it sounded great. I don't know because everything froze up on us. So
God, just go. Like, you are such not a performer. Just do what we do. Like, no one who hears. Only people are going to point out that, oh, it must not have worked because he said it. Okay.
oh, were you talking? You broke up.
Okay.
So hey, I'm Brian,
Tyler.
I'm Drew.
and thanks for listening to the HorrorBull Podcast. We'll see you next time. Or okay.